Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we have literally my new favorite deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much. You guys know I'm a huge Lair of Darkness fan. This deck is so similar to Lair. It's fiend-based, it's trap-based. In fact, it's normal trap-based. Has a lot of really good searchability and synergy with just like so many good normal traps. And I really love it. I just think the engine's way more cohesive than Lair of Darkness tends to be, but still, you know, I still love Lair, but like this deck kind of replaced it in my eyes, and it's just so much better right now in the game. So really enjoying it so far. This is my first build ever with the deck, so keep in mind this is going to be subject to change as we go forward, but this is my initial build. We're looking at Labyrinth. This archetype is so cool. Just came out in Tactical Masters like less than a week ago. Very, very stoked. So without further ado, let's just jump into this thing. Starting off, of course, with our best starter / normal summon in the deck, Ariana, the Labyrinth Servant. This card's crazy. It's a +2, usually, if not more. On normal summon, she searches any Labyrinth card. That's normally just going to be your trap card, sometimes the field spell. But when we get Darkwing Blast, or after Darkwing Blast comes out, we're going to actually be able to search like the new Boss Monster Mommy card as well, which is like a super, super good in archetype, like kind of like a combination of like King of the Sky Prison with, I mean, I guess it's just a better in archetype King of the Sky Prison, if you really want to look at it that way. Also, she has a bonus effect, and a lot of the cards in the archetype have a similar effect where if a monster is removed from the field by a normal trap you activate, she will draw you a card, and then you can special a fiend monster or set any spell or trap straight from your hand. Really, really cool. So it's like, it's a search on summon, and then it's a draw later on when you remove something from the field. Also, her stats are pretty decent, 16 and 21 for her. Really, really good. Moving on there, we have our secondary normal summon. You'd rather see Ariana, but if you see Backjack, you are totally fine with that. He's really good. Really, really good in the deck. We all know how Backjack works. When he's sent to grave, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and stack them in any order. And then as a quick effect, you can banish him on your opponent's turn from graveyard, and then like excavate the top card of the deck. If it's a normal trap, set it to your field and it can be activated that turn. Otherwise, send it to grave. Really, really good. We play enough trap cards in the deck where you're able to like very consistently hit very powerful cards off this. And if it has to be your normal summon, cool. Normal summon it, link it off for a Link Karibo, and boom, get access to another trap. As well as we have other ways to either send it from deck or from hand if we don't want to normal summon it. So to me, it's probably at least a 2 of in the build right now. I'm playing it at 3 though, because I'm trying to mess around with like some cheeky synergies that I'll explain here in a minute. Which moves us to our next piece. I'm going to put 2 cards here together. We have triple copies of Labyrinth Stovey Torby, and triple copies of Labyrinth Chandraglier. Very, very cool cards in their own right. They work pretty much almost exactly the same. They're almost the exact same card, just different stats, different level, and they float differently. But here's how they work. So both of them have the same first effect, or as a quick effect on either player's turn, you can send them from hand or field to the grave and discard a card to go ahead and set any Labyrinth spell or trap straight from the deck. Very, very cool. That means even going second, you're able to set up a like set spell or trap in the archetype before it even gets to your turn. So they are already ready to activate by the time you try to play on your first turn. Very, very nice tools. This is like an in-archetype way to speed up the slower trap mechanic that a lot of trap decks just kind of struggle with. What's really cool though is this is just a quick discard. So that's one of the reasons I'm playing triple Backjack as well, where if we pair one of these with Backjack up going second, you literally will like pitch them with the Backjack to set probably like a Welcome Labyrinth, and then also trigger Backjack, which has a very high chance of just hitting a trap off the top of your deck there. And then you just can straight up activate a really powerful trap card going second, like on their turn 1. Insanely crazy. So that's the reason I want to play that, to potentially, it almost feels like multi-faker imperm levels of like really, really strong for a trap deck going second, which is really cool. On top of that, they have their float effects. So same thing as Ariana. If any normal trap removes a monster from the field, then these guys, Torby will summon itself back to the field, and Chandragli will add itself back to hand. So they both float. Also, Torby's 2,000 defense, which is pretty cool. I think Torby's just a little bit better overall just because of the 2,000 booty, and it puts its body on the field, and some of your cards definitely like having fiends on the field at all times. So definitely helps to like keep the him going. And the last monster I play in the main deck is supposed to be 2 copies of Lovely Lady of the Silver Castle. Sorry, Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Only have 1 right now. Gonna get the second one. Sorry about that. But this boss monster is insane. It's a really cool card. My only complaint about it is kind of a brick. It does not summon itself from hand. You have to get it out with Welcome Labyrinth. But once you do, this card is awesome. So it has 3 main effects. The first one is that your opponent cannot respond to any of your normal trap cards with monster effects, so they can't Ash Welcome Labyrinth, they can't like negate, even if they have like a Baronne de Fleur and you're activating a normal trap, they just straight up can't. Really cool there. Second effect lets you just target any normal trap in your grave and set it to your field. It just can't be activated unless you control a fiend. So again, why Torby's a little bit better than Chandragli is, because you always want to have a fiend on your field. And the last effect, if a monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect, you can destroy 1 card either in your opponent's hand at random or any card on the field. Insanely good. That just adds interruption pretty much to any of your other normal traps that are removing something from the field. I love that. You can just hit stuff from hand or just choose to get something, and it's non-targeting as well. Insane. I think all of what this card does, just insane value off of 1 boss monster. She's also 2,900 attack, so she is very beefy, and I love it. Very cool. So yeah, even though it's like kind of a slightly higher monster count than you would normally want in a trap deck, what I love is that like Ariana searches you a trap, Backcheck gets you a trap, both Torby and Chandragli gets you a trap. She's the only one that doesn't like actively get you to a trap, but that's okay because she's, you know, your win condition. So yeah, like 12 of your 14 monsters get you 2 more traps, so like you're totally fine. Into the spells. Only Labyrinth spell I play is Labyrinth. This card is crazy. Has 2 main effects. If you activate a set Welcome Labyrinth, you can, after it resolve, or I'm sorry, add this effect to its resolution, which just says after you like summon a monster from deck with Welcome Labyrinth, you can destroy 1 card on the field. It's really cool. It just makes Welcome Labyrinth a removal trap while also summoning something from the deck. It's really good. Again, non-targeting, and the other cool interaction is that this actually gives the effect to the trap, so it actually technically counts as a normal trap removing a monster, so it would trigger all your other effects. And the other one, if a non-Labyrinth normal trap card is activated, you can special summon a fiend monster from hand or grave. This is how you get Silver Castle back if she does get sent to grave, or any of your other guys, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just helps you extend. Cool card. You definitely want to get that set up. I play 2, so that way if like 1 gets outed, you do have the second one. It's a pretty important card. It allows your engine to just have way more impact overall. And the only other spell I play is Triple Extrav. Like nothing too crazy here. You could play Prosperity if you wanted, but I think this deck and a lot of trap decks kind of just, it's consistent enough. You just kind of want to focus more so on power, and also like Ash on Welcome Labyrinth can be really annoying. It is already a slower deck, so being slowed down even more with an Ash on like your best like engine get going card, I'd rather bait it with an Extravagance, so that way we potentially just resolve Welcome Labyrinth without having to worry about it. So it's good to bait stuff, but also just if it resolves, like really good power card. And that's it for the spells. So 5 spells, 14 monsters, that's 19 total, which leaves us with 21 slots for our trap cards. Starting off with Triple Welcome Labyrinth. This is the best trap card in the deck, most important trap card in the deck. This card summons a Labyrinth monster straight from the deck, but does lock you into fiends from summoning from deck or extra deck until the end of the next turn. Let's keep that in mind. And the best part about this deck, this card, in my opinion, that makes me love it so much, if you remove a monster from the field with a normal trap card, this card just sets itself back from grave. My God. It's one of those things where, like, in a grind game, if you're in, like, one of those grind games where you have nothing in hand, nothing on field, but this in grave, and you top deck just something simple, a Compulse, an Ice Dragon's Prison, or whatever, something that's going to remove a monster from the field, that'll literally get you back into your engine while also taking apart what your opponent has. Really insane. This card's awesome. I love it. All right, moving on from there, we have our removal traps. First up is Archfiend's Ghastly Glitch. This is another one of the new cards. Only downside of this card, in my opinion, well, not only downside, but like the biggest downside, it does not have Labyrinth in the name. That's the one thing I would like complain about Torby or Chandraglier, is that the traps you're setting off of them, there's no Labyrinth trap that like immediately like threatens your opponent with removal or disruption. You just usually get to welcome Labyrinth, try to summon from the deck and get things going that way, which is still good, but just not like as good overall. Yeah, so because this doesn't have, you know, Labyrinth in the name, it just becomes, you know, not bad, but just not as good. Still really cool, though. If you control a Fiend, target a card on the field, destroy it, then send a Fiend from your deck to the grave. That's insanely good. Obviously, you have to have a Fiend on field, so another card that, like, does kind of get punished if you don't control a Fiend, but still really good. It's a Mystic Mine out. I love that this hits any card on the field, spell, trap, monster, as well as sending something like a Backjack or any of the cards that you just want to get engraved to float. If you didn't have Chandraglier or Torby, you just get them engraved, so that way you're gonna like be able to keep floating into them when you do stuff, which is really cool. But yeah, really cool removal card that also gets you even more. It's really solid. Moving on from there, I'm on a bunch of 2-ofs, double copies of Dogmatic Punishment, double copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device, and double copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. These I like a lot. I think Compulse is by far the weakest of the three, but it's probably the most reliable. It can fire at any time. It doesn't have a ton of like requirements to meet to be really impactful, and not once per turn either. So pretty cool. I could see myself bumping either of these up to 3 if I wanted, but you know, right now it's space. But Dogmatic Punishment's really cool, really impactful. The fact that it can also hit like back row or floodgates or whatever is really, really niche and cool, and like just the other utility it gets you is awesome. And then Ice Dragon's Prison, probably the highest ceiling of the 3 here. In a good matchup, this card can be like an absolute blowout, so I love it. I still wanted to have it, and it does trigger all your other effects if it does like hit something on your opponent's field, which is really good. So yeah. That is it for all of our removal normal traps. So everything else from here is kind of like cool or like, I guess, particularly interesting. Next up, I have 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier in the main, 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill in the main, and triple copies of Impermanence in the main. So some pretty cool things going on here. D-Barrier, obviously like I want to say like a high rolly card. I also considered playing like Artifact Sanctum or something here, but didn't want to play the Brick of Scythe, so left it out. But D-Barrier is still really good. I mean, even if you play against Sprite, you lock them out of Exceeds, you force them to go down to link-only lines, which their deck gets way less good under link-only lines. They also can't Zeus you going second. Pretty impactful. Same thing against Tier, lock them out of fusions, and it does limit them to just like strictly link plays, which can be pretty awkward for them. It means they won't get nearly as many mills as they might want. Really good. So yeah, really cool card. I just wanted a high rolly card that I could potentially hit off of like a Backjack going second with like a Torby or a Chandraglier to just like straight up going second, D-Barrier my opponent, which is broken. And then Breakthrough Skill. Breakthrough Skill is another one where I almost want to play this card at 3 because same thing as kind of like Backjack. If I discard this with either Torby or Chandraglier, this will be live in my graveyard to negate something as I try to play into my opponent's board on the next turn. So just really good value discard there where I'm getting my engine online and I'm getting a way to play through a monster on your opponent's board at the same time. You can just use this to like preemptively neutralize a Toad negate or something, or turn off an elf so they're not going to be able to get another interruption or follow up back there. It's pretty cool. Definitely. I'm a big fan of this card. This card has been really good for me. I would almost consider like, maybe not cutting Imperm, but maybe going from 2 to Imperm to 3 Breakthrough Skill, just because this card's a better discard. It's also just way better value. Even setting this into boards is really good. I felt like these were all really good because pairing them with the removal traps is just really good because the removal traps are threatening your opponent if they have Toad negate, Baronne de Fleur negate, whatever, like that. These are all chainable to like turn those off and make sure that those resolve. I know Solemn Strike has been that card in the past, but this deck has so much normal trap synergy that I wanted to kind of keep it normal trap based, you know, there. I still consider Strike, but still cool. And then Imperm, the only like normal going second card I actually play in the deck. Sprite's super popular, so being able to keep them off of Toad. Toad's honestly the biggest threat to our deck aside from like Zeus. So as long as you have ways to like neutralize Toad or keep them off of Toad and then also like neutralize the Zeus play, you should be good to be able to win a lot of splight matchups. So I felt like this was fine, and it's a normal trap, so you have extra synergy there as well. And the last card in the main, 2 copies of Trap Trick. This is debatable as well. I think there's definitely an argument to not play 2 of this. I would always want to play at least 1. That way, it's just a one-off card that if you draw it, it's any other trap card. I just showed you like 8 different trap cards that all have like different utility in some way, shape, or form. And I think that value is so good. But obviously in a heavy trap deck, this card loses some value, because if you see this in like a 4 or 5 card trap hand, this card's not doing enough, because you have to fire everything else before it. So it does get a little bit dicier in those scenarios. But still, the utility cannot be argued. So that's it, 40 in the main. I feel really happy about the main deck. I feel pretty good about where it's at right now. But obviously subject to change. There's so many good normal traps. There's formats that ever change, and then obviously things get better or worse. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Moving into the extra. Starting off here, double copies of Lingaribo and 1 relinquished Anima. These are your level 1, or these are your link 1s that help clear backcheck off the field if he is your normal summon, because he kind of just needs to be. These just clear him off so that you can get his effects going as fast as possible. I felt like this was the right ratio. Lingaribo is the one that comes up the most and probably will be the best. But Anima, you still can't argue. There could be times where Anima could just, actually win a duel just because you play it, and backcheck just punishes your opponent. From there, 1 dark, the Dark Charmer. This deck is all dark, but the only thing to keep in mind with this guy is he is not a fiend. So if you do resolve a Welcome Labyrinth, you are locked into fiends not only on the turn you use it, but the turn after. So a lot of times you're going to Welcome Labyrinth on your opponent's turn, which means you can't go into non-fiends. But if you can, dark's a pretty cool utility card to have, just in case. And then a bunch of fiend cards. Nightmares, Phoenix, Unicorn, and then also the Unchained Abomination. These are just all fiends that, you can still under Welcome Labyrinth after you've floated into a ton of monsters, drawn a ton of cards, whatever. Still be able to go up into these for a little bit of extra utility. I even would like to play Cerberus as well, honestly. I just don't know. I mean, I played this just because technically, if you're like rotating a ton of your cards and like removing stuff, you're going to be able to get a ton of bodies on the field. So this could be a nice little card, but this could also just be Cerberus. Like I said, kind of want to play it just in case, because sometimes, you can fire all your traps and then just kind of be out of removal. So that could be nice. Then we move to pretty much nothing but punishment targets, triple Intis, the most important one, and we play Extravagance, so obviously don't want to lose these. Same reason why we play like the double Lingaribo and the Anima. 1 Fossil Warrior Skull Knight, 1 Fossil Machine Skull Wagon, 1 Garura. I like Garura a lot, just being able to like pop a monster, then draw, because like I don't care about future removal. I don't care about like punishing my opponent for removing my stuff. I honestly want to like draw back into my engine or something. You know what I mean? Go plus. Garura is pretty cool there. I don't even play Super Poly. Technically you could, because you're already just playing this, and maybe you play 1 Dragostapelia or something just for matchups, and then, or Mud Dragon, and you'd be in a good position. The last one's Wind Pegasus, obviously. Just a really good card if you don't need immediate removal at that moment in time. Sometimes it's just better to load him up and say, yeah, play against my deck without destroying anything. And if you do, you're going to get hella punished. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my current build. That's my first attempt at a Labyrinth build here. I'm so excited for this deck, and I think it gets like significantly better with the 1 card in Darkwing Blast. We'll also see if there's more support in Photon Hypernova, and maybe there's just more stuff I can mess around here to kind of like perfect what the deck has going right now. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. This is my favorite deck. I'm definitely open to suggestions on what you would consider playing, just to like try and get the build as good as it can be right now. Do you think it's right to max out on both of these guys? I know some people don't like that, but I do think like it's a trap deck that like those guys give you, though, opening those with backcheck or like the breakthrough skills like literally give you your best chance to like win certain duels going second. So I really, really appreciate that for what it's worth, but who knows? We'll see. Other than that, I guess it's also worth mentioning real quick that like Barrage and Labyrinth, a Fair Welcome Labyrinth are pretty interesting cards. I almost played them. I also almost wanted to play like Ariane, the other normal summon, like to pair with Ariana, but she's just okay to me. I think she's like super weak to interruption. She has to send a normal trap to get a monster, and I was like, what monster are you getting with her that's like so good? And I just don't think we like play it enough yet. So I don't know. But yeah, these cards are really cool. This card, like, when a monster clears an attack, you like negate the, what is it? It's like you target a card on the field, destroy it, and negate the attack. It's pretty cool. It gives you like removal on battle phase, and then barrage. This card, when you activate a different normal trap, this card chains to it and like copies the effect. So you literally just like use the same effect twice. So if you like compulse and you chain this, you're just gonna like do it again, like compulse and compulse, which is pretty interesting. It is Labyrinth in the name, so it could be like a pretty interesting card to play for sure as a one-off. But I don't know. I think for now I'm gonna keep it not in the main unless it just I test enough and it comes where I'm like, huh, I actually would be going for that right here enough times. So we'll see. But yeah, really like where it's at. Love the deck so far. Cannot wait to test with it more and come to like a solid conclusion on the deck and like feel good about where it is until we get to Darkwing Blast. But I love it. So cool. Favorite deck in the game right now, hands down. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please let me know in the comments your thoughts on the build, what you would have suggestions for, cards that I'm not playing that you think maybe I should. I definitely am curious there. Maybe even side deck options. I definitely need to figure out a side deck solidified for this deck as well when I start playing it legitimately. And yeah, that's going to do it for me here. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. I will see you in the next video. Peace.